guitar demo day for a piece of gear we have up for sale. This is a mid to late 1960s Gibson Melody Maker with the SG style body. What's particularly cool about this guitar? Well, that's kind of for you to decide ultimately if you're interested in buying it, but for me, one of the coolest things, of course, is the color. I believe this is called Fire Engine Red. It's, Gibson custom color. You see it a little more often on some of the student models. For example, you'll see Melody Makers and whatnot in Pelham Blue, Inverness Green. A little more common in those. Harder to find on the larger models like the SG. This one's not one I see a lot, so it's pretty cool. Just the body is the color. On these, of course, the necks retain their kind of natural, I believe it's mahogany finish. On the Melody Makers, you have two single coil pickups. On this one anyway, because this is a Melody Maker D, which stands for double. So you could buy the Melody Maker 1, which just had one bridge pickup. You could buy the Melody Maker D, or Melody Maker 2, some people call it, which had the two pickups, the double pickups. And there's a few Melody Maker 3s that have three pickups. This is probably the most preferred version in terms of tone and sonic capabilities. The reason is you have a three-way selector switch, which would run this like a Fender Jaguar or a Telecaster or a Les Paul. So you can either get this pickup in the first position, both pickups together in the second, or just the bridge in the third. On the Melody Maker 3s, the third pickup was wired like a Les Paul Custom or a similar guitar. And basically what it does is it gives you these two pickups out of phase. And some people really like that sound. I'm not a huge fan of it. So that's what's cool about this. All right, I'm gonna play a little bit more and then we have a little more to say about the guitar. So let's go first in the, let's go now in the neck position. Let's turn it down a little bit and make it clean. Pickups tend to be or sound a bit brighter to people's ears. The main reason for that isn't really the pickup, it's the fact that these were wired from the factory with 500K pots. A 500K pot is really going to expand the high end especially. So like for a humbucker where they tend to be a little darker, you want the 500K pot. For single coil you want 250. They put 500K pots in these. I'm playing through a Marshall 1974X hand-wired blues breaker. Sounds great, doesn't sound shrill, harsh at all. But again, if you have an amp that kind of is like, say, a Vox that's diving a little more, all you need to do is just turn that tone knob down. It sounds fine. I think this one sounds awesome. So it's got the short tremolo here on it, and this whole unit is original. However, this plastic tip, I believe, is a repro. There's not a lot of cracking or shrinking to the pickguard, which is nice because sometimes those really did shrink. In terms of cosmetic wear, there's some nicks and dings around the edges. Not a lot of buckle rash or anything, which is good. And some modest marks. Again, the Melody Maker was a student model, so here you see the headstock, just straight and skinny. Really what this is a Gibson headstock without the wings added that you're gonna see on a Les Paul. Again, it allows it to be sold for cheaper. You have the narrower 1 9/16 inch nut width, which means it's got a narrower neck. It really expands up here, so you really have a pretty wide neck up here actually. In terms of thickness, the neck is actually pretty thick. It's not a baseball bat, but it's a large C shape. So in a lot of ways, and it's got good shoulders. So what you'll lose in the width, it kind of makes up for in the depth of the neck. Frets are in good shape. This one dot marker here is lighter than the others. So that may be a replacement dot marker. I don't know for certain. You got the original white plastic strap buttons. There's a couple screws, or a few screws missing from the back panel. I'll try to find some repros to put in there, but it holds in place fine. Original Kluson Deluxe tuners. Let's just go ahead and listen to it some more. And I'll go ahead and, we'll go ahead and crank it up again. Oops. Anyway, like I said, it's a student model guitar, but like lots of Gibson student model guitars, it's a great rocker. In terms of Fender guitars that I could compare it to, it obviously would be something kind of like a Mustang, a Duosonic, but it's the full scale. So maybe more like a Jag, again, except the longer scale, but the pickup selection and tone, that's probably what it most fits best into, the Jag. Some people don't like this tremolo unit with this bridge. The nice thing about the bridge, if you look carefully, you can see it's got holes right through here. You can set that up as a wrap tail. So all you do is this little piece of tremolo comes off, and then you just wrap the strings around there, and you'd have this still remaining there. You could take it off if you want. I would leave it if it were me, but that would allow you to play this as a wrap tail, and again, that's just up to you as a player preference. Now finally, about the dating of the guitar. The serial number is a 900,000. It's 900,922. There's no Made in USA stamp. There's no volute. It's not a three-piece neck. There's nothing on the guitar in terms of appointments that would point to 1970s. If you run this through a lot of serial number readers, it might pop up with that date, but that's not correct. In the late 60s, especially on the student models, the numbers are a bit ambiguous. Quite often you will actually find a lot of guitars made in late 69, even into early 70s, that have 1968 serial numbers, and vice versa. It's just an oddity of the era. So we have to go based on the appointments to date it. Main thing is the pot dates. I have pulled the pot dates up, and interestingly enough, it's original pots, original solder on the whole thing, but the solder covers all the dates on here. I know it's all original, I can tell, but I cannot read the date code. It's frustrating. There's an inspection code on the underside of the pick guard, but again, that doesn't help us date it. So we have to guess. And so since you're this far into the video, I'll tell you how you do this with an ambiguous serial number. One thing to look for is whether it has a Gibson logo about right here in the pick guard. During 1968, on their guitars, Gibson put this kind of cool looking logo. It said Gibson, and then it had like, it looked like springs, is the best way I could describe it, tremolo springs. So if it has that, you know it's a 1968 guitar. So this doesn't have it. So it's not 68. It's either 66, 67, or 69. By 69, most Gibson guitars have the witch hat knobs. And the witch hat knobs are named such because they look like witch hats. And they got the numbers all around them. These are the black silver reflector knobs, which of course you're going to see more characteristic in the middle part of the decade. So because of that, I would guess 66 or 67, but it could very well be a 69 guitar. At the end of the day, as far as substance goes, it doesn't matter because all these guitars were built to the same spec during those years. And as a collectability and price point matter, it really doesn't matter. But this one is cool. Sounds great, plays great. It's in good shape, not much fretwear at all. Really cool fire engine red color. It's up for sale. Check it out. You're going to really enjoy the guitar if you like these old Gibsons.